With the Smash Ultimate ranking season coming to an end, many of the strongest Ultimate competitors in the world were looking for their last shot to improve their rankings for the first half of 2023. And what better way to close it out than with one of the biggest events of the whole year, the 878 entrant Canadian Super Major Get On My Level 2023. The 9th installment of the event was lacking in international talent, with only 4 non-North American reps seeded in top 64, but hosted practically every other top North American player. Saying that this event was important to a majority of the top seeds was an understatement. All of the top seeds were actively fighting to maintain or improve their ranking. For example, Tweak, Light, and MKLeo have all been relatively close in results throughout the season, with all of them winning a major and having a nearly endless list of top wins throughout the year. You would assume that all of them would be competing for a top 5 spot this season, but with Akola, Mia, and Spargo essentially locking themselves into top 5, these 3 top talents were looking to get one last result in order to swing the ranking in their favor. Speaking of Spargo, the Cloud has been in heavy contention for number 1 this season with Japan's Akola. It's been a tight battle, and depending on who you ask, they'll say that there's no way that one or the other isn't number 1 this season. Akola's season has been reminiscent of an MKLeo of years past. First at Umabura SP9, Kaguribi 9, Ultimate Summit 6, Meisuma Top 12, and Seibugeki 14. His worst major placements this season have been a 7th place at Genesis, losing to Mudace and Spargo, who are notoriously great against Steve, 3rd at Meisuma Top 11, and a pair of 2nd places to Spargo at Battle of BC5 and Kaguribi 10. That's it. While Spargo does have a run of first places at Major Upset, Kaguribi 10, and Battle of BC5 alongside a 5-0 record over Akola this season, Spargo has a lot lower lows than his rival, including a 13th at Summit. A win at this event could have been what swung the number 1 ranking in his favor. But despite being in a top 8 filled with players who have won majors this year, it was a player that's consistently come up short that ended up taking home the whole bracket. This is how Sonix, the player, overcame his adversaries and claimed Sonix, the character's first major win in over a year. At the beginning of Sonic's career, he didn't have the same opportunities as many other competitors due to living in the Dominican Republic. Even going back to Smash 4, he was ranked highly in his country, but didn't have a lot of opportunities to prove himself. With a passion like his, he was searching for an outlet to continue to improve his game, and in turn, he found the online tournament scene, exactly what he needed. Sonix very quickly became notorious in the Smash 4 online scene for the exact same reason he is today. Not only was he amazing at the game, he had an insanely frustrating playstyle to play against. While the execution perhaps wasn't as polished in 2017 as it is in 2023, the idea was there. He began to enter a lot of top personalities Twitch sub-tournaments, which generally had prize pools, and started to pick up some big-time wins. It was in an EE sub-tournament that saw Sonix get his big break though. EE saw potential in the young player after winning one of his sub-tournaments and sponsored him to come out and compete at Shine 2017. This would be one of Sonic's most important events of his whole Smash career. Not only was it his first ever major, it would be the first time Sonix traveled to the mainland US to compete and a chance to get a shot at some of the strongest players in the world offline. Sonix knew from this first event that these opportunities were few and far between. He needed to take advantage of what was presented to him, and he was able to do just that. He outplaced his 49th seed, finishing 25th with wins over Kuma, beating the Wi-Fi Warrior allegations. This would be his one and only major through Smash 4's peak years though. When Ultimate was released, Sonic's Wi-Fi prowess would remain intact, being one of the players you wanted to see the least in bracket. But unlike Smash 4, Sonix was able to travel early on within the game's lifespan, making his first appearance at Genesis 6, one of the first majors in the game's history. Sonix made an amazing run to 25th place, and he had a few more respectable placements through 2020, but was never able to replicate that run he had at Genesis. But once the online era started, Sonix truly hit his stride. Being a nearly guaranteed top 3 spot in Hungrybox's Lunchbox series, Sonix made his name known to the wider Ultimate community as one of, if not the best player online, and he translated that over to offline with little to no issue. While it was typical to see Sonix place 49th or 65th before the lockdown, his first offline major back was a 9th place at CEO, picking up multiple top 50 wins in the process. He followed this up with a 9th place at Smash World Tour with wins over Chag, Dabuz, Meister, and Tweak, solidifying his spot as one of the best players in the world. By June of 2022, Sonix had finally overcome the hurdle and claimed his first major victory at CEO. This win honestly made Sonix into a household name in competitive Ultimate. He had a great end to his 2022, ending with a rather controversial number 16 on the ranking, but Sonix knew he could do so much more. Now, I mentioned before that Sonic's play was notorious for being insanely frustrating in games, so for those of you who aren't familiar with this playstyle, let me break it down for you. Sonix plays a respectable but justifiably unenjoyable playstyle to watch. His focus is on absolute precision and making the least amount of unfavorable interactions at all points of the game. In the eye of a casual viewer, they might think, oh, Sonic, he's fast, surely he would rush down the opponent, right? Well, contrary to the popular belief, in a game with a 7-minute timer, a potent defense can be a lot more favorable than a great offense. His style with Sonic Sonic is to consistently position himself and apply pressure to the opponent with his incredible speed early on in the match, while also being able to outrun and escape the opponent at any point. In addition to this, Sonic's special moves are an incredible quick burst option that allows Sonic to either engage or disengage at the press of a button. On top of that, once he's at a point where he has a lead that he's comfortable with, he can then choose to run. And run. And run. All of this is put in a fancy little package along with the fact that Sonic also has an incredible advantage state and edgeguarding ability, making it so when he does decide to engage, he can blow up the opponent off of a single interaction. With this already infuriating evasive style accompanied with Sonic's incredible speed and hurtbox shifting special moves, Sonix makes you feel like you're helplessly swatting at a fly. And if the opponent wants to play the long game with Sonix, he doesn't really mind, because when he's up a stock, you know what's gonna happen. Although the general consensus from the community is that Sonix just camps and times out, and Sonix definitely does both of these, at this event we saw fairly average game lengths throughout his 4 stream sets. With an average of 3 minutes and 49 seconds a game, even if you think that Sonix can be boring to watch, you have to recognize how hard it is to execute the way that he does. At some of these events, you're playing for 8 to 10 hours across an entire day, so having the mental stamina to time someone out after playing for essentially a work shift takes a lot of discipline and skill at the game. Now in 2023, it's been a story of being so close yet so far for Sonix. Multiple top 3 placements at majors and super majors without a single first place. He's taken 3 losses to players ranked outside of the top 10 this year, but besides them and a single loss to Riddles, Sonix has been gatekept exclusively by 3 players: Light, MKLeo, and Spargo. He has a win against each of the top 5 players, but in the end they all bested him more often than not. All 3 of them have multiple wins over Sonix this season, Leo at 3-2, Spargo at 2-1, and Light at 5-1. Again, with the ranking period being as close to done as it was, Sonix was given one last chance to beat these bracket demons at GOML. Going into top 128, Sonix was looking as strong as ever, 3-0ing Not Brayden's Mario, then dropping his first game of the event to Goblin's Roy. Next he was matched up against Dabuz, who recently has been looking like he's back in top form. They were 2-2 prior to this set, but their last encounter was a year prior at Smash Factor 9, where Dabuz was able to take the set 3-1. This time around though, Sonix wasn't going to give Dabuz the same opportunities he had before and ended up taking the set 3-0. But unfortunately, there isn't a VOD available for this set to see how it went. Sonic's run in top 12 started with one of his main roadblocks this season, MKLeo. Of the 3 players mentioned before, Leo is the one Sonix has matched into the best historically, as Sonic does very well against Leo's whole cast of characters. Leo started off the set with Corrin, who was put on the back burner for a while, but after double eliminating Sonix at Wave Dash, it seems like she's back in the character rotation. Leo looked okay in Game 1 but couldn't close it out, so in Game 2 we saw the switch to Aegis as well as the beginning of the end for this set. Sonix has his edgeguards against this character down to a science. He's learned how to cut down Aegis's resources piece by piece until they're either forced to side B, where he has a back air ready to go, or they go low and risk getting hit by the spring, or they try to go for the ledge and have to deal with slip-off fairs or forward smash 2 frames. Leo's Aegis got 2-stocked off a string of edgeguards, and he was now down 2-0 to Sonix. Game 3, we saw some great adaptation from Leo. However, against Sonic's offensive relentlessness, he's able to make even a player like MKLeo feel flustered. You can plainly see an incredible ability to feint with his movement against a character like Aegis that gets so much mileage off whiff punishing. Sonix had MKLeo swinging and missing constantly and took the first stock of Game 3. We saw Leo begin to figure it out on his last stock, and the game eventually evened up, but Sonic set up yet another ledge trap opportunity and found himself in the same situation as Game 1. Knowing that Leo wasn't going to get hit with the same trick twice, he would pick an option to avoid the forward smash, and reading it correctly, Sonix was able to still finish the game out with the forward smash at 102%, sending the 4th seed to losers and securing his spot in winner's semis. So now in top 8, his next challenge would be in New York Zomba, who's had his best season yet this year and defeated Sonix on his way to winning his first Super Major, crowned the 3rd a month prior. Zomba came out swinging, racking up nearly 100% before Sonix was able to get a hit on him in reply, finishing out the first stock with a side B. Sonix was able to pierce through Zomba's wall of nairs and projectiles over and over to eventually get the equalizer kill, evening the stock counts. Zomba found a down tilt train at high percent, putting Sonix on the ledge, but respecting Sonix a bit too much, he decided to run back and shoot Gyro, giving the Sonic the chance to make something happen. He does a jump from ledge into spin dash into an up air to spring bear conversion. Then he ultimately finishes that up with a back air off stage. Now up a stock, Sonix was in his element and you could tell he was feeling himself. He started an edge guard against Rob, and with him dropping below ledge with a dare, he secured Game 1. In Game 2, Sonix looked unstoppable. The game started off with some sloppy play admittedly, getting caught with a combo out of shield by Zomba, but all it took was one up air to lead to a Zomba stock deleted. Sonix was honestly in control for the rest of the set, securing game 2 with the JV2, and in game 3 he was killing at percent so early you would think he was the one playing Rob. He finished the game with another edgeguard, 3-0ing the Rob and locking himself in a spot in Winners Finals. Now it was time for Winners Finals, and who would Sonix be matched up against? Spargo? Light? Tweak perhaps? No, it was actually New York Falco main Tilde that made it to Winners Finals in one of the most impressive and bracket-fortunate runs of the tournament. With the no morals tag attached, Tilde was showing he was ready to play Sonix's game against him, and their first game already went near to a timeout, with only 13 seconds left on the clock to finish it up. Tilde had some moments even taking the first stock of the game, but it was clear that Sonix was feeling incredibly confident at playing the tempo game. Game 2 was another last stock one, granted for not as long, where we saw Sonic's incredible presence of mind off stage pay dividends, cleaning up the first 2 kills of the game with sneaky edgeguards. The Falco fought back, but Sonix caught a jump from ledge to finish that game off. But game 3 was not like that. At all. Tilde started off with an uncontested 80% on Sonix to start the game, and he would go on to only do 68% more for the rest of game 3. Tilde got 3-stocked, in a rather unfortunate fashion, side being in the wrong direction on his last stock, but Sonix wasn't looking like he was going to just give up that game. With that said, Sonix had just now 3-0'd 4 of the best players in the United States in a row, bringing him the closest he's been all year to a major win. He had just one more challenge ahead of him. Crawling his way through losers after being upset by Zomba, North America's best player Spargo beat Karama, Light, Atreus, Zomba, and Tilde to have his chance to end the season on a high note. This was truly Sonic's final test. Their lifetime record offline was 3-1 in Spargo's favor, and when Spargo won, he won. On top of their offline history, the two also have an extensive history in the online tournament scene, clocking in a whopping 51 sets played since the release of Smash Ultimate. They were known for their constant head-to-head battles in grand finals of the Coinbox series. Game 1 opened up with an advantage from Sonix, but Spargo was unfazed by it and struck back, taking the first stock of the game. Trying to take back some momentum, Sonix missed a deep edgeguard on the Aegis, resulting in a ledge trap sequence from Spargo that ended in a ledge trump down air. In what looked like a complete disaster, the match went from a potential 3-stock to Sonix somehow back in the lead. Spargo narrowly closed out a Game 1 win, marking Sonic's first loss in 12 games in the bracket. It seemed like Sonix began to find his rhythm against the Aegis at the end of that game and exploited all of the character's weaknesses in Game 2. With an immediate 0 to death to start up the game, he followed it up with another masterful edgeguard, putting Sonix up 3 stocks to 1 with only 15% on board, and was a whiff bear away from 3-stocking Spargo. That game ultimately ended in a 2-stock for Sonix to equalize the set count. Aegis has some of the most oppressive buttons in the game, but Sonix's decision-making was just too quick for Spargo to adapt to. His ability to change tempo in the spur of the moment is almost unmatched among the other top-level competitors. Constantly forcing an approach, Sonix was picking and choosing the best spots for him to interact in and would get the most out of every situation. Sonix was able to end Game 3 with another 0 to death edgeguard on the Aegis. While mitigating his own risk, he's been able to take a matchup that can be seen as unfavorable for Sonic and exclusively play the situations he's comfortable in playing. Game 4 was an accumulation of all of Sonix's work across the previous 3 games. Sonix was simply the fastest thing alive, and Spargo couldn't manage to hit him. Down 3 stocks to 1 once again, Sonix was at a clean 50% and looking ready to take this tournament. He made Spargo look like just another Aegis player here, ending the game with another edgeguard, 3-stocking one of the best players in the world to win the final Super Major of the ranking season.
Might just be it. Sonix is your Get On My Level 2023 champion. Pay that man respect.
Love or hate this character, Sonix is clearly one of the most versatile and consistent competitors in Ultimate, and he seems to be becoming more and more untouchable as each event passes. Hey, thank you so much for watching. Thank you to our top tier patrons and YouTube members, Avishua Stein, Bobby Wasabi, Dorian, Eric is Cool, Juniper, NNG Esports, Storm, and Tingly Jungle for supporting the channel. Please consider subscribing if you haven't already, it will seriously help me out a ton, and go click on one of these videos or I will be sad. I will.